Good morning, everyone. It is 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jade Monreal. We are following several stories this morning. Of course, the heat remains to be our top story in the Carolinas as we are staying weather impact alert. Boy, did it feel so hot and muggy yesterday. So we're going to see if we're going to move in the right direction, at least. Also, in East Charlotte overnight, a massive fire just tore through an apartment fire so quickly, so feverishly. We're going to get the latest with Richard Devane, who's covering things for us this morning out there. And at the state capitol, North Carolina legislators are working to override, they are expected to override several of Governor Josh Stein's vetoes, ranging from immigration concerns and bills to what was the other one? Gun law and DEI. And speaking of Governor Stein, he is also holding a press conference later on this morning to talk about the budget. And the big story across the country, yesterday's New York City deadly shooting. We're learning more about the suspected shooter who ended up killing 4 people and then shooting himself there in the middle of New York City. More on that to come. First, let's take a look at your Gaston County area. Blue skies. It looks like it's kind of steamy out there. What else do you expect, Chris Mulcahy?
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's it. Back to you.
Awesome.
That's all I have to say. Nothing.
It just looks like it sits there, and then you're playing baseball and you gotta stand out there in the outfield.
Yeah.
And
Have you all been to a Ghost Peppers game yet?
Harleen, you have, right?
I
You've been
have
there.
Yes, I have been. I went when it was still formerly the Honey Hunters.
Yes, and I highly recommend it. It's a smaller stadium, of course, but
Yes.
it's a good time.
It's cute.
Yeah, it is
It's
really
very
cute.
stadium.
I hear
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
really nice, stadium and good to just.
Not a bad seat.
There is not a bad
exactly.
seat.
That's
Yeah.
what I heard.
And I'm not trying to. This isn't slander or anything, but JT and I were there for Star Wars Appreciation Day.
Awesome.
And he kept on wanting to go see the bad guys.
Right.
So he was actually more excited to see Sith Lords than he was the actual mascots.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, so he was very excited to see the bad guys, and I don't know who the evil princess is. She was blonde, but he was terrified of the mascot. So I just think it was really funny.
A lot of kids are.
Yeah,
though.
Right.
And say, hey, I guess it's a good mascot then, because the Ghost Pepper tried an intimidation factor, but I just thought it was funny you'd rather hang out with the dark side.
The dark
than-
side
yeah,
of the mascot.
an actual Ghost Pepper. But anyways, we are Ghost Pepper Red for today. It's still hot, but not as hot, so letting you know that we are trending in a good direction. Today and tomorrow just aren't as bad. I still think you could feel as much as 100 to 104 just in general. But yeah, no, we've been on an absolute tear recently as far as those temperatures go. And I'm actually, in the meantime, going to bring up some other data while we're looking at this graphic, because our heat indices have been jumping and jiving. And yesterday, officially, we got up to 104.8 for a max. The day before that was 107.3, 106.5. So yeah, we've been.
Sounds like radio stations.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're watching 106.5, the heat index. Yeah, and we are luckily trending down for a little bit today. I think it's more about the 100 to 104 range. But we're also starting to see more storms as we continue each and every day. So the more storms that we see potentially could cool us down. That usually leads to a little bit more cloud cover as well. And some other stats and data is like how much time that we've actually spent at that 100-degree point, where first off, we hit 109. That was a little bit earlier in the season. That was one of the hottest that we've ever seen so far. And then there's also been multiple hours that we typically spend anywhere from about 23 to 26 hours at 100 plus. Well, we've actually done it over 80 so far this year. So it really just shows a testament about where things have been compared to previous years just in general. So just try to stay as cool as possible. I'm happy to say things are going in a good direction. Our heat advisory is from 11 until 8 o'clock today, so we're still going to be feeling it. Our current temperature is already up to 82 degrees. This morning also temperatures dropped down to the mid-70s, so we did not have a record warm start to the day, so that helps. Not saying that you're not going to have it. As far as our current heat index, let's see. Sorry, I'm having some Graphics are jumping all over the place. Current temperature right there is actually feels still more like 88. So I just wanted to really prove about how much the heat index is actually going to be a factor for the time being. So we're really feeling it already 88. So we will feel anywhere from about 100 to 105. I think 105 to 107 could still be the max, but close to that 105 mark is definitely going to be the hotter realm. Today's high is 98 degrees. So going to be close to 100, just not hitting 100. Which not complaining about. And officially, since we did hit 100 yesterday, the high was 101. That is now the 13th time in Charlotte history that we had 3 days or more of 100 degrees. So yeah, you were a part of a record stretch. And if we do hit it today and exceeds expectation, that would only be the 4th time in history that we've done 4 in a row. So our last of the heat wave today, then again tomorrow, mainly from noon until 6, or our window of the oppressive, dangerous heat is starting to narrow. And then the high heat index about 105. I think it does come down a little bit by tomorrow. Today we're seeing a max about 104 to 107. This is all model data that I tried to skew for tomorrow. It shows very similar ranges, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer to about 103 to 105. And then our dew points are also heading in a very steamy direction. Whenever they're close to about 77, 78, that is some near tropical air, and that's exactly what we have for your Thursday, Friday. That also translates to some of our best rain chances. But we're actually going to be back to almost just a sticky range come Sunday to Monday, and those days are going to be in the lower to the mid-80s because that heat dome is breaking. And when that breaks down, that doesn't allow us to get up to that oppressive 100-degree point that keeps us away from the records and actually a little bit closer to normal, and that's where we'll be a couple days from now. And eventually, once you get to this orange color that you see in here, well, now it's just the usual flow. And then if you start shifting things from the northwest that we start to do here, and a cold front rolls through, that's why we are heading the opposite direction. Not complaining. Likely chance for rain Thursday and Friday, and then scattered on Saturday. So let's get to the near-term rain chances. We have a chance for a pop-up storm after 2 o'clock. There'll be pop-up turning to scattered thunderstorms through the afternoon, heading through the evening, winding things down by about 2 to 3 a.m. Last night we heard some rumbles of thunder. Not everyone did. You did, Jane?
I sure did. Woke me up 12:39.
See? Yeah.
It was loud and rolling, and I thought, oh my, that's that pop-up shower thunderstorm.
And we brought this up yesterday. There'll be some that will be woken up by big loud ones and then that rolling thunder. We have that environment again. It's called a temperature inversion. So if we do have them after you go to sleep, which is a possibility up till 2, could be woken up by it again. Now, if you are a dense sleeper like me, you have no idea what's going on. You sleep right
My
through it.
husband slept right through it.
Yep. I know. I feel it's more of a male thing that we can just sleep through everything, is what I've generally seen. So but it could be anyone. At least that's what my wife was telling me. She's like, you could sleep through a hurricane. Anyways, we are looking at a chance for more storms for your Wednesday, and then for your Thursday, it's more the usual pattern that we pick up some showers and thunderstorms up into the mountains, and then it starts to become a little bit more widely scattered through the afternoon. So again, that just backs up my estimate that it is going to be a better chance for storms Thursday into Friday. By that point, we should have our last 90-degree Thursday. We're going to be very close Friday. Even if we hit that's day 26 at 90 plus. That would still solidify that number 4 spot, but we're not moving up that chart because we are for sure dropping into the 80s this Saturday, Sunday. Saturday likely will be overcast and mostly cloudy, and then we're back to the mid 80s on Monday, where Sunday and Monday you might actually see more sunshine, and it actually doesn't feel super humid. So those days are shaping up to be pretty good, just with a chance for an isolated storm. So a nice little break overall.
Amazing. We can't wait for the weekend for so many reasons, but at least we're stepping down.
Yes.
One half step at a time.
We're getting there.
We are going in the right direction.
And July officially took over the number 2 spot for the hottest on record, and it will not lose it. So welcome to the second hottest July in Charlotte history.
All right, a record broken almost.
We were close.
Something-
1993 is going to be tough to beat, and we don't want to beat that.
Yeah, I was like a distinction we don't really need or want. All right. Thank you, Chris Mulcahy.
Take care.
You too. All right, as we stay weather impact alert, like I said, top of the show here, that North Carolina Governor Josh Stein is speaking right now, holding a press conference on the budget. He would like the legislature to pass it. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Considering the vetoes again, there's 14 that they're looking at. Had you not vetoed those bills, couldn't the legislature be more focused on the budget?
I'm quite certain that whether I signed these laws or vetoed them has nothing to do with what they've done for the last month. They could have reached a budget. Look, there are good bills, there are bad bills. I vetoed the bad ones, I've signed the good ones, but there's only one bill that matters to the people of North Carolina, and that is the budget, because it impacts every North Carolinian. It impacts our school kids and teachers. It impacts people who need to get a license at the DMV. It impacts people who are on Medicaid. 3 million North Carolinians are covered by Medicaid. It impacts law enforcement, whether we have enough on the beat. These are the issues that matter to North Carolina. These vetoes are a distraction that divides us. The legislature needs to focus on the people of North Carolina and pass the budget.
Thank you, everybody.
Right this way.
That was North Carolina Governor Josh Stein giving a press conference, a real quick press briefing there to media. We will re-rack this and play it from the beginning shortly. In the meantime, back here in the Carolinas, or in Charlotte, I should say, there was a terrible apartment fire that ripped through this building so quickly. And our Richard Devane went to the scene as soon as we heard about it. He has the latest, filing this report earlier on WCNC Plus.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone on the Plus. Basically, we've been showing you the view from the other side of this apartment complex, or this unit, I should say. But when you take a look at the backside, you can see just how devastating this fire was. This has all that's left. This middle part of this was an apartment building. Those were 6 apartments right there, just gutted by those flames. Just the damage extensive. The fire inspector is still on the scene trying to determine exactly what caused this thing to go up and why. Now, as we take a look at video, you're seeing there also, this is the intense flames that neighbors told us about that happened around 2:30 this morning. It was right here at the Oasis on Regal, which is right off of Albemarle Road. Actually, English Hills is the driveway that brings you into this apartment complex. They've had fires here before, back in 2022. Most recently, that one gutted some 28 homes people were homeless after that one. We don't know how many after this one, but we can tell you a significant amount of damage to this particular building. Neighbors outside all day just trying to grab what they could, running out ahead of flames and thick smoke. Everyone tell us about the thick smoke, and then when they got outside, they actually saw the flames shooting out from the roof, and you can tell by the damage on the lower levels that's a pretty intense fire. We did speak with a number of residents, but we also spoke with the battalion chief, who gave us a kind of an idea of what the fire department is facing. Take a listen to what they have to say.
Upon arrival, heavy fire conditions were found throughout the building. An additional alarm was immediately struck. In total, there was approximately 60 firefighters on scene. The fire is currently under control. 2 rescues from upper floors were made by Charlotte firefighters. The cause of the fire is currently under investigation.
There would have been smoke. I want to know there was a fire. I didn't hear the fire trucks or anything. But when I got out my door, the fireman was right there already. They had the hoses up the stairs. So someone called them right away.
And had they not called them?
I'd still be in bed probably. Somewhere, because I didn't hear, there was no smoke, no alarm.
I just heard the sensors going off and just started really struggling to breathe and started coughing and just try to get out of there, you know.
What did you see? I mean, what woke you up? Were you asleep, awake? I'm sorry?
I was asleep. What woke me up was the smoke. Just having started coughing and realized I really couldn't see in my apartment, and I was like, oh, it's smoky in here. And then I was like, oh, I need to get out.
And when you opened the door, what'd you say?
Just the firefighters coming in and doing their job, even telling me to get out, and because I was so worried about my other cat, but they were, they did their job and swiftly got through there.
I was asleep. We were both asleep. It was very quiet. I woke up, I was smelling fumes. I just woke up because of what was, in the air. But no, it was quiet. And I said something's not right. And we started getting together and getting on out the door. I opened the front door, didn't like what I saw, and went out the other side door. I'm just glad we woke up, because this is crazy.
Yeah, that lady and her husband able to get out with all they had was his knapsack or his backpack was all they were able to grab to get out. They lived on that top story. The man you saw there, he had a cat that he believes was lost in this blaze. That woman you saw who was holding a cat, she actually had another cat that she didn't know whether it was alive or not when we were speaking, but she was able to find out that her cat was actually inside. They rescued the cat, medic was treating it, and able to revive that cat. Some good news there. Another neighbor we spoke with who lives in this portion behind me that's not affected as much by flames, probably water and smoke damage. They were concerned. One neighbor said she woke up and saw what was going on. She quickly rushed, got her husband, who's disabled, out of the house, and then she knocked on doors to make sure that the neighbors in that section were able to get out also. She said they unfortunately they left their cat inside the apartment complex, inside the apartment unit, I should say. But the good news, they were able to pull their cat out about an hour ago. Spooky, their cat was able to get out. And for the lady who was worried about her cat, Ivy, seems to be okay. The cat's name is Ivy. So there's some good news in all of this. Maybe, unfortunately, one person losing a pet, as firefighters have confirmed. The investigation into what caused this continues. We asked just a little bit ago, do they have any idea of when they might have information on what caused it or how much the damage estimates are as you look at how bad this damage is to this apartment, this particular building. And they told us that they don't know right now. It could be some hours before we have some of that information. But of course, we'll keep updating you with that information. We're here in East Charlotte. This is Richard Devane. Ben, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, kudos to those firefighters for a quick response. Richard, quickly, the one lady you were speaking to, the neighbor who was holding the cat at the time, sounds like she woke up because of the smoke and not because any of fire alarms or anything like that, or smoke detectors.
That is absolutely correct. That's what she said. She didn't hear any smoke detectors in her unit. Now, we spoke to the man who also was on camera, who said that he was awake and he also had a cat, the one that he believes was lost, and he said he didn't hear any alarms. He heard the fire alarms that they have in the hallways here, but as far as the smoke detector, he didn't hear it. Now, there was a neighbor, the neighbor I mentioned, who you haven't seen, you'll see later today, who actually was knocking on other people's doors. She said she heard her smoke detectors. She also said something that was important. She said she had just recently changed her batteries in her smoke detector. She lives in the apartments units right behind me. That may be important. We don't know if the other people had changed them, if they were working or not, but she said she did have a working smoke detector. She had recently changed the batteries, and she did have her smoke detectors going off. Now, of course, we'll talk to more neighbors and, of course, the fire department to see about what was working, what wasn't working, but we want to be fair and say the lady who lives in the apartments behind me that were also affected, she said her smoke detectors went off. The man who said he lost a cat, he lives in the other portion on the front part. He said that he heard the alarms that are in the hallway. You might see those little alarms. That's where someone pulls to alert the fire department. He said he heard that going off, but he didn't hear a smoke detector. He said he was asleep, and had it not been for the fire department knocking on his door, he would not have known what happened. And then, of course, that couple who also was on the upstairs, just next on the other side of that man, they said they woke up to the smoke. So, as you can well imagine, there's a lot of things we'll have to investigate, and we'll get that information to you throughout the morning, and of course, updating you throughout the day, both here and on all of our social media platforms.
And that was our Richard Devane with the very latest out in East Charlotte, talking to Ben Thompson on the earlier stream from the main studio here on WCNC Plus. I want to update you right now on the suspected shooter in New York City from last night, where this suspected gunman killed 4 people before a self-inflicted wound. And we now know that his name is Takura. And he drove from Las Vegas, Tamura rather. Investigators believe Shane Tamura of Las Vegas was trying to get to the NFL office in New York City and to complain of issues, mental health issues and concerns due to CTE. And the mayor from New York City, Mayor Adams, also says that gunman was he took the wrong elevator to try to target the headquarters of the NFL, and that's how he ended up shooting several other people, 4 people on the other side or the other building, including an off-duty New York City police officer. Seen last night there from New York City. As you can see, crews were lined up here in the middle of Park Avenue, a very busy area, but it happened around 6:30 last night, so we assume end of business day. And but you saw the pictures there from the gunman that he was holding that rifle, just walking blatantly up to the office there in the plaza along Park Avenue. Anyway, the Mayor Eric Adams did hold a press conference last night following this shooting, and we also have learned that Tamura left a note. NBC reporting that he left a note at the scene, a suicide note at the scene last night as well. So as we are learning more and uncovering more details on this incident, here is the press conference, if you missed it from last night. New York City Mayor Eric Adams. You're watching WCNC+.
Never gets easy. I always go back to the beginning of my role as mayor in Harlem Hospital, where Officer Mora and Rivera were assassinated. And I remember watching their family members enter the hospital and a loud yell of, "No, God, please tell me it's not true." And I thought about that today when the notification came over from the police commissioner that we had a number of shots fired, and we're still unraveling what took place. And our hearts are heavy. 5 innocent people shot tonight. We lost 4 souls to another senseless act of gun violence, including a member of the New York City Police Department, Officer Islam. He served in the 47th Precinct. He was just 36 years old and a 3.5-year veteran of the department. He was doing what he does best, and all members of the police department carry out. He was saving lives. He was protecting New Yorkers. He's an immigrant from Bangladesh, and he loved this city. And everyone we spoke with stated he was a person of faith and a person that believed in God and believed in living out the life of a godly person. He embodies what this city is all about. He's a true blue New Yorker, not only in a uniform he wore, but in his spirit and energy of loving this city. And early tonight, I met with the officer's family. I told them that he was a hero, and we admire him for putting his life on the line. This was his dad's only son. Now think about Jordan, my child, and it's unimaginable to experience a loss of this magnitude. And 3 other innocent civilians are also dead. 2 males and 1 female, and another male is seriously injured, fighting for his life in critical condition because of the violent, despicable attack. Additionally, the shooter is dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. To be clear, 6 total tonight died, 1 including the perpetrator. And I'm sorry, 6 total was shot tonight, 1 including the perpetrator. No words can describe this act of evil, a man who takes the life of others who are innocent. And no words can fill the void that has been left by this tragedy. Our hearts break for the families and friends of the victims. We pray for the swift and safe recovery of the injured. The horrific crime reminds us all how easy it is to gain access to a gun. Gun violence has scarred so many neighbors and ripped apart too many families across this entire country. And we will continue the fight to do all we can to protect our city. But tonight we mourn for those who were killed. And we pray for the families as they go through this painful moment. And as I stated, 5 innocent people were shot. And the perpetrator was shot. We will continue to do what we do as a city, and that's fight to protect innocent New Yorkers. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Police Commissioner of the City of New York, Commissioner Tisch.
Thank you, sir. The information that I'm about to provide is preliminary and subject to change. At 6:28 p.m., the 911 call center started receiving multiple 911 calls for an active shooter inside of 345 Park Avenue at 52nd Street in Manhattan. What happened next is under an active investigation, and details are still coming in, but here's what we know so far. Surveillance video shows a male exit a double-parked black BMW on Park Avenue between 51st and 52nd Streets, carrying an M4 rifle in his right hand. He walks towards the building's entrance. That individual was seen exiting the BMW alone. The building's security camera footage shows the shooter enter the lobby, turn right, and immediately open fire on an NYPD officer. He then shoots a woman who took cover behind a pillar and proceeds through the lobby, spraying it with gunfire. He makes his way to the elevator bank, where he shoots a security guard who was taking cover behind the security desk. One additional male is shot in the lobby, per his own statement from the hospital. The shooter then calls the elevator, which opens in the lobby. A female exits that elevator, and he allows her to walk past him unharmed. He goes up to the 33rd floor, which is Rudin Management, and begins to walk the floor, firing rounds as he traveled. One person was struck and killed on that floor. He then proceeds down a hallway and shoots himself in the chest. In total, we have 5 victims shot, our officer and 4 other innocent civilians, plus the shooter. The shooter is believed to be Shane Tamura, a 27-year-old male with a Las Vegas address. The vehicle he exited is registered in Nevada to Mr. Tamura. Inside of that vehicle, officers found a rifle case with rounds, a loaded revolver, ammunition, and magazines, a backpack, and medication prescribed to Mr. Tamura. The vehicle was searched by our bomb squad and found to be clear of any explosives. The initial investigation shows that Mr. Tamura's vehicle traveled cross-country through Colorado on July 26th, then Nebraska and Iowa on July 27th, and then in Columbia, New Jersey, as recently as 4:24 p.m. today. The vehicle entered New York City shortly thereafter. According to our law enforcement partners in Las Vegas, Mr. Tamura has a documented mental health history. His motives are still under investigation, and we are working to understand why he targeted this particular location. 345 Park Avenue is a commercial office building whose tenants include the NFL, Rudin Management, KPMG, and Blackstone. At this time, 4 of the 5 victims are deceased, including our NYPD cop. Our officer was transported here to New York Presbyterian along with 1 male civilian, the lone shooting survivor, who is in critical but stable condition at this time. 2 other civilians, 1 male and 1 female, both deceased, were brought to Bellevue. The 4th civilian is a female who was found dead on the 33rd floor of the location. Additionally, there are 4 other victims being treated for minor injuries sustained in their attempts to flee the scene. Victims' names are being withheld at this time, pending family notification. Officers from our Special Operations Division are currently conducting a secondary sweep of the entire building. I want to be very clear. We believe this to be a lone shooter, and there is no longer an active threat to the public. But today, 4 innocent victims are dead. Among them is NYPD police officer Didarul Islam, 36 years old, 4 years on the job. Officer Islam was married with 2 young boys, and his wife is pregnant with their 3rd child. He's assigned to the 4-7 precinct in the Bronx. He was doing the job that we asked him to do. He put himself in harm's way. He made the ultimate sacrifice, shot in cold blood, wearing a uniform that stood for the promise that he made to this city. He died as he lived, a hero. I want to extend my profound sympathies to all of the victims and their families, and to the brave NYPD cops who today lost a brother. There are still many questions that we have to answer, and we will answer them. But for now, our city is in mourning for the innocent lives lost. May their memories be a blessing. Pat. Sorry. Oops, sorry.
Patrick Hendry, President of the PBA. This is a devastating night for our city, for our police department. Pure evil came to the heart of our city and struck innocent people. And one of our police officers who were protecting those people. We lost 4 people tonight in our hero brother who gave his life for this city. He was a hardworking police officer who was proud, we know, from hearing from his family, to put on that uniform and shield of a New York City police officer every day and went out and did his job. And he went out every single day to provide for his family, whether it was overtime or whatever he had to do to provide for this family. That's what he did on a daily basis. And his family is devastated. A wife losing a husband who provided for that family. A father who's not going to see his son again. And our hearts of every New York City police officer right now is hurting. We're hurting for our brother police officer who we lost. We're hurting for that family. We're hurting for all the victims, for all the families of the victims. And we're all asking, why? Why did pure evil come here? And we know our police department and our law enforcement partners will work tirelessly to get those answers. But now our job as police officers is to be there for this family, to support them in any way that we can, to come together as a city, to be there for these families of the victims. And we will continue to do that, because that's what New York City police officers do. And we're going to continue as police officers to go out and protect this city, because we know that evil can strike at any time. But police officers are willing to risk their lives to protect everyone in this room and protect everyone in this city. So we ask all New Yorkers to pray for our police officers' family, to pray for all the victims and their families. And we need to stand united going forward. We thank you for covering this story.
Yeah, we are also joined by our federal partners from the ATF and the FBI. I want to give an opportunity to our partner in the FBI, a special agent in charge of the New York City Fields Office, Chris Rea.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, on behalf of all the men and women of the FBI, I'd like to extend my deepest condolences to the victims of this senseless tragedy. And also personally, I want to extend my condolences to the police commissioner. And just please know, ma'am and Mr. Mayor, that you have the full force of FBI New York and the full force of FBI to get to the bottom of the answers. Upon learning of the incident this evening, FBI agents immediately deployed to the scene to assist our NYPD partners. While this remains an NYPD investigation, the FBI's New York office stands ready to provide any and all resources to assist our partners. Initial checks of our internal systems have not revealed any information about the subject. But when and if more information becomes available, we will share what we can, when we can, with the public. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do some on-topic questions, folks. Someone at CNN, please.
Just a quick question about the police officer. When he was standing in the lobby, did he have a chance to fire his weapon at the shooter, or was he completely ambushed? And also, when the shooter got to the floor, approximately how many people were on that floor, and what were they doing?
All of this information is under active investigation. Videos are being reviewed. And as this investigation continues to unfold, we'll be able to answer those questions. But right now, it's an active investigation.
Miles Silver, Commissioner, if you could just talk about, he was working paid detail there, for people who might not know what that means, and was he the only officer working that paid detail there?
I believe that there were 2 officers in the building working pay detail assignments in different parts of the building.
And what is that? People, they say he's on his day off working the uniform.
Paid detail is a program that we have set up at the police department that allows companies to hire officers in uniform to provide extra uniform security. I already described what we found in the vehicle, and it's too early in the investigation to discuss anything more. As I said, too early in this investigation to tell, but nothing that we have seen preliminarily.
Commissioner, can you talk about what the medication was that was found in the vehicle?
I cannot.
Can you speak about any prior law enforcement contact you may have had?
I cannot, other than to say that our partners in Las Vegas made us aware of a mental health history.
Yes, Steve? What's your job?
Please share any details you have on what the patient's history was, whether or not he had...
Just what I said already. It was an M4 rifle, and we also found a revolver in the vehicle with ammunition and magazines. He did have a license in the state of Nevada.
Your one?
Was there any intelligence indicating that investigation was at risk beforehand, and are you considering a targeted attack or an act?
At this time, it's too early in the investigation to tell.
Thank you, everyone.
And you were watching last night's press conference after that deadly New York City shooting, where we have learned this morning that the suspected shooter who died by suicide, Shane Devin Tamura, a 27-year-old from Las Vegas, where the motive has not been exactly released by authorities, but officials with the investigation, familiar with the investigation, say that Tamura did leave a note behind voicing his anger, targeting mental illness issues because of football and his having played football, and that he may have been targeting the NFL office in New York City. More to come on that deadly New York City shooting. Right now, we want to, as promised, re-rack the North Carolina Governor Josh Stein. He had a press briefing this morning, speaking in Raleigh about the budget and wanting the legislature to pass this budget. This is his brief presser this morning on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Assembly. They're here today, have been off work for nearly a month. They've not yet passed a budget, and they're passing a lot of other bills that are divisive. It's the wrong priorities for North Carolina. The people deserve better. You can ask questions of any of the speakers. Yes.
There's talk of some sort of smaller budget bill coming this week. Is that something that you've been in discussion with lawmakers about, as far as what, if they haven't reached a larger deal yet, if it's something like rebates or something else, just to move things forward?
We have had those discussions. I'm aware that that's what the General Assembly is considering. We have a lot of issues in North Carolina. We have education, we have public safety, we have health care, we have customer service like the DMV. These are issues, some of which may be included in a mini budget, but not everything will be. We need to take care of all of the state's government. I urge the General Assembly, let's set aside our differences, let's come together on a budget that is sound, balanced, and in the interest of the people.
Can you say anything about what's being considered now, the immediate need, even if they don't have a compensation?
No. Yes, Gary?
You tell me your predecessors, granted a while back, Beasley and Perdue took matters into their own hands when budget couldn't be reached. I'm pretty sure it was Perdue, definitely easily, citing either Leandro or an emergency or anything like that. Do you foresee a time where if they don't pass something to your liking by the end of the summer that you may take some action to address some of the needs you consider high priority?
I surely hope that is not necessary. I have confidence that we can work together to do what is in the interest of the people of the state, and so I'm focusing on trying to be part of the solution.
On the veto overrides today, voters have made it clear that they want stricter immigration laws, and you vetoed two of those bills. Is there any flexibility on your part, anything that you would support?
The legislature passes some good bills. I've signed a number of them, and they pass some bad bills, and I vetoed a number of them. There's one bill that matters to every North Carolinian, and that is the budget bill. They could do nothing but pass the budget and set this state up for continued success. I urge the General Assembly to focus on what matters, helping us hire more good teachers, helping us hire more talented, public-spirited law enforcement officers, making sure that Medicaid covers our North Carolinian people who are desperate for health care, fixing the DMV. These are things that a budget can solve. I urge the General Assembly, let's put aside the divisive stuff. Let's focus on what matters to the people of North Carolina.
The House just put forward a proposal to put together this North Carolina Commission for Preparedness and Recovery. Is that something you support?
We're studying that bill. Yeah, we'll have to study it. I'm aware of an earlier incarnation. I certainly appreciate the spirit with which it has been introduced. We want to make sure that when we do recovery after a storm or we're preparing for a storm that we're ready to handle them. I'm not sure that the solution is the right one, but I certainly appreciate the spirit with which it is being introduced.
Two questions, if you could. One, what do you think it says when lawmakers are here focused on overrides rather than passing a budget? And then second question, if you can maybe provide some comment on former Governor Cooper, where everything's happening.
The General Assembly, by focusing on divisive bills that do not move the state forward, and in some instances make our state less safe, like allowing teenagers to carry concealed weapons without any training whatsoever, that is the wrong priority when you have not figured out how we're going to pay our teachers, when you've not figured out how we're going to ensure people on Medicaid continue to have the health care that they need, when you have not figured out how we're going to pay law enforcement to make that a profession more attractive, when you haven't figured out how we're going to fix the DMV. These are things that we should be doing. The legislature has not. We are a month. We're 1/12 of the year already, and they have not passed a budget. We need to focus on what matters and not these sideshows which are distractions. And then as it relates to Governor Cooper's big news yesterday, here's one excited North Carolinian. I know who I will be supporting and voting for in the United States Senate race. I've known him for 25 years. Think the world of him, and am excited about his candidacy because I know he is driven. He has a servant's heart. He is doing this because he loves North Carolina and he loves this country.
So there are a number of Medicaid issues. One is the rebase, of course, expansion, and then the continuation of the Healthy Opportunities programs. Have you had any conversations with, HHS committee chairs in either chamber about what they would do going forward?
Yeah, we've had repeated conversations. The legislature has been open to understanding what is the consequence of the reconciliation law that came out of Washington. They want to understand the consequences of failing to pass a rebase. So yes, we've had a number of conversations. They've been constructive, but we need a bill. We need a law. And that's what we're urging the General Assembly to do.
Last question.
Considering the vetoes again, there's 14 that they're looking at. Had you not vetoed those bills, couldn't the legislature be more focused on the budget?
I'm quite certain that whether I signed these laws or vetoed them has nothing to do with what they've done for the last month. They could have reached a budget. Look, there are good bills, there are bad bills. I vetoed the bad ones, I've signed the good ones. But there's only one bill that matters to the people of North Carolina, and that is the budget, because it impacts every North Carolinian. It impacts our school kids and teachers. It impacts people who need to get a license at the DMV. It impacts people who are on Medicaid. 3 million North Carolinians are covered by Medicaid. It impacts law enforcement, whether we have enough on the beat. These are the issues that matter to North Carolina. These vetoes are a distraction that divides us. The legislature needs to focus on the people of North Carolina and pass the budget.
Thank you, everybody.
Right this way.
And get you caught up there with Governor Josh Stein's press conference from just about an hour ago, speaking to the budget and pushing for the legislature to go ahead and pass the budget from state lawmakers. Well, we are getting ready for back to school, aren't we? So at 9:47, we have a number of our anchors, including our Ben Thompson, speaking to superintendents across the Charlotte Metro, I should say. I know I will be speaking to the superintendent of Fort Mill School District soon. But in Rock Hill, as they get ready, our Ben Thompson did speak to the superintendent. We're going to play this for you now in its entirety as they had a discussion getting ready for school.
You're new on the job in the last few weeks. How's it going so far?
Fantastic. I've been very busy. The most important thing I need to do right now is get to know the people. So far, I've visited every school, met the summer staff, the custodians, the groundkeepers, the bookkeepers, the registrars, the principals, taken a walk through each and every school building, and really getting to know our community through the lens of the people who work all summer long, so that when the teachers come, we're ready for the teachers so they can be ready for the kids.
What are you most excited about?
The first day of school. There's nothing like it. This will be my 32nd first day of school, and I look forward to it every year. It's the best day of the year. It's like Christmas.
Talking about the new teachers here, I see about you're 98% staffed
Yes.
overall. Bus driver routes are all filled. Not every district can say that. What are you guys doing right?
Well, I know that our human resources staff has been recruiting hard, but it's not just human resources, it takes everybody. So I know that we've had teachers, we've had principals, we've had everybody who's an employee in our district talking to people who they know in other places about what a great place this is to work and live. And so we're bringing people in mostly through word of mouth.
Talk to me about the biggest challenges you as a new superintendent, but also the district is facing going into this new school year.
Definitely student achievement is first and foremost. Parents trust us to have their kids ready to make their own choices when they finish high school. And so to do that, we have to make sure every day is on point in the classroom so that students are ready 13 years later when they graduate for any path they choose.
Last year I saw that there were described as 7,000 behavior incidents here in the district. I believe that was up 2,000 from the year before. How is the district going to respond going into this school year?
So we do have a robust plan to engage community, engage students in looking at how do we implement the policies we have. Sometimes when you start to really implement, you see those numbers go up because behaviors that might have been overlooked before become addressed. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing.
So are you suggesting there was a reporting issue of more reporting because a stricter protocol?
That would be conjecture because I wasn't here.
Okay. That's fair.
But oftentimes that's the case.
If you had a group of parents sitting down with you right now, what would you want to tell them to assure them about your priorities going forward?
My number one priority is kids. I want kids to have a great experience in school each and every day from the second they get on the bus to the second they go home. In class, out of class, in the cafeteria, everything they do in their after school activities. I want the experience to be one that fosters their growth. Parents trust us. So I think the most important thing I would say to parents is thank you for trusting us with your children. We do not take that lightly. I do not take that lightly. In fact, I take it very personally and never take for granted that trust.
What would you describe as your largest academic priority going into this year?
Definitely math. I've looked at the data over multiple years. Math is definitely an issue. I know our state has worked on new math standards and new math materials that we're rolling out this year. But math is a huge gatekeeper in careers. Kids who grow up thinking they're bad in math tend to not perform well in math, and they lock themselves out of career options. And so I want education to open doors, not keep them closed.
To that point, how is the district going to lean into AI, both from a student level and also the teacher level as well?
That's something that's really important to me. I'm just now getting a handle on technology in terms of what are our systems, what are our devices, how do we use them as learning tools in the classrooms, and where are we with AI? I would say it's too early for me to comment because I just don't know yet, but I think AI has great promise for transforming education just as transforming every other field.
So you mentioned devices just then. South Carolina passed a law when it comes to banning cell phones and devices in the classroom. Knowing that you are new, and I'm not asking you so much to comment on the policies, as in general, overall, do you feel like that is where schools are moving towards? I feel like for years there's been a debate about whether or not it was a good idea or not. You feel like that's where we're going?
I do, absolutely. I know that our district passed policy before it became state law, and so we were on the front edge of that. I do think that students are too easily distracted by their devices. It's just, and we are too as adults. You pick up your device and all of a sudden you're in there for 20 minutes and you've missed what's happened in the classroom. We can't have that. We have to have kids focused and engaged in the classroom.
What's your message to students on the first day of school?
Be present, show up, and be ready to learn and work hard because you're going to have a great year.
Right now, I want to bring you an update now from state lawmakers. We are hearing that the North Carolina House has overridden Governor Stein's veto of HB 318. That is the Criminal Illegal Alien Enforcement Act. That legislation strengthening legislation passed last time requiring sheriffs to cooperate with ICE to remove illegal aliens charged with serious crimes from communities. So Stein vetoed that, and now the House of Representatives from the state just overriding Stein's veto. More to come on that. The Speaker, Destin Hall, said, quote, Governor Stein and Democrats side with criminal illegal aliens, but the House stands with North Carolinians. North Carolina sheriffs must put public safety above politics and enforce the law, not help criminals escape it. Speaking of state lawmakers, of course, we know that former Governor Roy Cooper is putting his hat in for a Senate seat, and he will be running for the seat vacated by Thom Tillis, who announced last month that he is not going to seek re-election. We did have Catawba College political science professor Michael Bitzer, who is our kind of our resident political expert. He weighed in on this move with Cooper announcing his bid. And of course, we now know that RNC chair, former chair Michael Whatley, is also running on the Republican ticket for the Senate seat. But more now, if you missed any of this interview with Michael Bitzer, here it is, previously recorded on WCNC Plus.
All right. So first, just want to get your reaction to this announcement today. It seems like it has been the biggest teased announcement for a while, but finally getting an actual confirmation from the former governor.
I think certainly this was among the worst kept secrets in North Carolina and maybe American politics nowadays. We finally have confirmation of Cooper's decision to get into this race. And I think it certainly sets up one of the key battles for control of the U.S. Senate here in North Carolina.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Democrats hoping to chip away at that very slim Republican majority. How does Cooper getting into the race help their chances there?
Well, I think for national Democrats, this was the prize that they wanted. Somebody who has won 6 times statewide, who has a very high name recognition, who will probably be able to raise as much money, if not more, than he possibly needs. These were all the kind of qualities that they wanted in an assured candidate for a very competitive seat that is now open because of Senator Tillis's retirement. I think that this will be a battleground type of contest moving into November of 2026. And I think, if Chairman Michael Whatley decides to jump in on the Republican side, he has Trump's endorsement. This will basically be 2 titans battling out for control of the U.S. Senate.
In his announcement video, he really, to me, was sort of trying to etch away at this stigma that Democrats face of them not being like the everyday average Joe type of person. And he has that in his background. Can you talk a little bit about his story and what makes him so unique for this particular moment?
Well, I think Roy Cooper has played upon in his past runs and successful statewide elections on a very kind of mainstream, moderate perception of his Democratic candidacy. And certainly the 2 parties have moved further and further away from each other, kind of leaving that middle ground uncontested at times. In North Carolina, that middle ground is very small in terms of electoral dynamics, but it is highly influential in terms of determining who wins statewide. And I think what Democrats are looking at in this state is they haven't won a federal election statewide in North Carolina since Barack Obama and Kay Hagan did in 2008. So Republicans have been able to hold a kind of stranglehold on federal elections. Democrats want Roy Cooper to break that stranglehold.
Now, how do you think that his time as governor will impact this race? Surely Republicans will be looking to that tenure to kind of poke some holes into his story.
We're already seeing Republicans use the governor's time in office, his 2 terms, to hit the governor on things like hurricane relief, perceptions of other cultural issues. So I imagine that this particular race will be one of the most negative campaigns run. Advertisements will flow freely into North Carolina over the next year and a half. and they will primarily be negative oriented. I think Republicans will use whatever they can against Roy Cooper and tie him potentially to national Democrats. Roy Cooper will try and probably tie whoever the Republican candidate is directly to Donald Trump, because midterm elections tend to move against the president's party. So this will be a highly negative campaign coming up that we've already started pretty much, and we'll see it play out over the next year and a half.
Yeah, North Carolina elections do tend to get very messy when it comes to ad dollars, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about Michael Whatley and how he compares. I know you touched on this a little bit, but why don't you tell me a little bit about how these two kind of stack up against each other?
Well, I think for Republicans, if he decides to get into the race, Michael Whatley already has a major accomplishment behind him, and that is the support of President Donald Trump. You know, looking back in 2022 and 2024, whoever Donald Trump endorsed in the Republican primary ultimately went on to win that party primary. So that holds gold status for Republican primary voters. You know, certainly amongst Republicans, Michael Whatley has a good name recognition, but he needs to broaden it out to the broader North Carolina statewide audience. And I think that that's going to be one of the key things he's going to do leading up to March's primary, is really introduce himself, what his candidacy is about. That will probably be the main message moving into next March, and then we'll see it transition into the general campaign for the fall of next year.
I want to get your opinion as we talk about how the Democratic Party is working to sort of reshape their identity after the loss that they experienced with the Vice President Kamala Harris. How do you think that also kind of contributes when you think about this race with former Governor Roy Cooper, or do you think it compares? Because I would imagine that they would kind of be looking to this race as well to see how does a candidate with his type of background fare in an environment like a North Carolina.
I think certainly there will be a lot of Democratic strategists looking at this campaign to try and road test some messaging potentially for 2028's presidential campaign. And I think, you know, one of the key things is to try and reassure voters, to build back trust for the Democratic Party and for Democratic candidates, and not so much controlled by a small faction within the Democratic Party, but be able to speak to the moderate middle of American politics, and particularly North Carolina politics. What we've known is when Donald Trump was on the ballot twice in North Carolina, Roy Cooper was able to win in those same elections. So he's got the proven strategy and capabilities. We'll have to see if anything has shifted within the electorate next year. But my expectation would be Democrats will be looking at this to kind of reposition, to reframe, to develop a more broad messaging capabilities that could speak beyond what they saw in 2024.
The governor, or the former governor rather, he always talks about how he has only wanted to serve his home state of North Carolina, but we all know that he has had some political interests at higher levels, certainly potentially had the opportunity to be vice president. How do you think that this all lines up to his potentially greater goal of becoming president of the United States one day?
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think certainly at his age now, trying to vie for the U.S. Senate, and if he becomes a U.S. Senator, that will propel him into the national spotlight again, as he was in 2024. We'll have to see what the Democratic Party's resilience is to older candidates versus a kind of generational shift going on. You know, my expectation would be they probably won't go older. They'll probably go more middle age in terms of a candidate for 2028. But certainly Roy Cooper would be somebody, if he is propelled into the U.S. Senate, that would then mean a kind of quick turnaround if he was to run for president in 2028.
And that was our Kaylin Hagwood talking to political science professor Michael Bitzer, weighing in on former Governor Roy Cooper running for Senate. It'll be an interesting election for 2026. Time right now, just after 10 a.m. on this Tuesday morning. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. I'm Jane Monreal. Happy to be with you for the next hour as we bring you the latest news and some of the stories that we're covering and exclusive interviews and discussions that we have only here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. As we await for a press conference that's expected to start any moment from Human and Health Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on their actions as an agency to battle the opioid crisis. That should be happening. We'll bring that to you live. We're also following, of course, Hall of Famer football great Deion Sanders' announcement yesterday that he has bladder cancer and that he took care of and went through surgery removing his bladder. He had an extensive interview yesterday and then talked to the Today Show and Al Roker. And of course, this heat. We are staying weather alert this morning. So please be careful. Watch yourself, your pets, your neighbors, your cars even, as you make your way out and about through the week. But we'll find some relief here sooner than later. All right, back to that announcement for Deion Sanders and having bladder cancer. It made us think we need to talk to somebody. What is bladder cancer, and how did this life-saving procedure help Deion Sanders? Our Vanessa Rufus talked to a local doctor here and what you need to know about bladder cancer. This was yesterday, so previously recorded as we await that press conference from RFK Jr.
For folks who might have missed it, we got some pretty shocking news about Colorado head football coach Deion Sanders. He had a press conference today announcing that he had actually been diagnosed with bladder cancer and he had surgery to remove his bladder. Now, this obviously had us coming up with multiple questions that we wanted answered, really just about the disease. How rare is this? What do people need to know about the potential symptoms? How treatable is this? And could potentially Coach Sanders go on to live a relatively normal life after this surgery? So we spoke with an expert from one of our local health systems. With that, we wanted to kind of bring you up to speed with some of the insights we learned tonight. Take a listen. Well, folks, we have Dr. with Novant Health. Dr. Johnson, you are a urologic oncologist, so you can provide some insights on bladder cancer news that we saw from Deion Sanders. So I guess something like this detect.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to come and speak with you guys today and share the good word. Typically, bladder cancer is found on a routine urine test or somebody finds blood in the urine. So either they see it or they see red blood cells when they're getting a checkup with their primary care doctor. Occasionally, bladder cancer can be diagnosed when somebody has sort of bladder symptoms. They go to the bathroom a lot. They have pain with urination, and it isn't due to a kidney stone or a urinary tract infection, which then sort of leads to these urine tests.
So how common is, I feel like we talk about a lot of other cancers a lot, more than we maybe even hear about bladder cancer. So when I saw this news about Mr. Sanders and the fact that, it was an issue with the bladder, I went, wow, I don't think we hear about that a lot. Is it a relatively rare illness?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting thing. Bladder cancer overall is the 7th most common cancer in the United States. It typically affects men more frequently, and so it's the 4th most common cancer in men. But overall, in the United States, there's about 85,000 new diagnoses of bladder cancer a year.
And is there any particular, I guess you might say cause or predisposition to this illness? Are there certain factors that might make you more likely, other than being a man, to have this cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. The most common cause of bladder cancer by and far is smoking and tobacco use. Other causes of bladder cancer can be occupational. So, somebody who works around a lot of heavy chemicals, somebody who's a painter, traditionally hairdressers with a lot of exposures to those harsh chemicals But unfortunately, there are a lot of causes of bladder cancer where somebody doesn't have any risk factors at all, and it just sort of pops up. And in the field of medicine, we just don't have a great answer for every cause.
And I mean, I guess on that note, knowing that, it seems like there could be certain factors that do play a role, but maybe still a lot of questions. Are there things that folks can do to decrease their risk of getting this type of cancer?
Yeah, absolutely. The first is stop smoking. Any tobacco use will increase the risk of bladder cancer. And then please don't start smoking. That's important to say. And then number 3 is, at the end of the day, good, clean living is good, clean living. So just doing everything you can to maintain an active lifestyle, a healthy diet will help no matter what.
Do you find that bladder cancer might go hand in hand with other types of cancer? For example, I mean, thinking of perhaps the kidneys, which eventually will filter product, if you will, to the bladder. Are there other, I guess, organs that kind of get tied in with a cancer diagnosis of the bladder if maybe the cancer is left long enough undetected?
Potentially. Unfortunately, bladder cancer, if left undetected and unchecked, if it is an aggressive variant, unfortunately, people typically don't have time to develop another form of concurrent cancer, lung cancer in smokers. But there are some folks that, again, do develop similar types of cancer to bladder cancer in the kidneys and tubes that drain the kidneys, and that's called upper tract urothelial cancer. And bladder cancer's formal name, most commonly, is urothelial cancer.
Are there, any lifestyle, things that folks need to know in the sense of, for example, Mr. Sanders talked about having his bladder removed. I guess what happens at that point? How do you replace the functions of a bladder, and what does that mean for somebody's lifestyle going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So bladder removal is typically a treatment for aggressive bladder cancer that has not spread. In short, my expectations for somebody where I remove their bladder is in a few months, I expect them to be back to normal. I expect them to be the head coach of a college football team. I expect them to lead a local business. I expect them to enjoy their life afterwards. With bladder removal, you can replace the bladder with some small bowel or large bowel, similar to a native bladder that somebody has, or you can divert the urine with an ostomy appliance. With both of these options, patients can still run, walk, jump, go to the gym, go swimming. I've got patients that scuba dive with these, and they do great.
That's incredible. I mean, the latter option that you mentioned, I feel like, and obviously not a medical expert, but I feel like maybe I've heard that mentioned if somebody also has, let's just say, like a digestive issue and they need to have maybe part of their digestive system removed. Is that the same? And I'm sorry, is it osteo what?
Ostomy.
Oh, so ostomy. Yeah, the bag. Okay. So it would live outside their body, like it would be outside their body on a regular basis?
Yeah, exactly. We can take a piece of small bowel and divert the urine to the skin, and then they just place a temporary bag over this area that collects the urine and is emptied every 4 to 5 hours and works well. People recover well from it and they do well. And a lot of folks might have these, with digestive system ostomies or urostomies, urinostomy, underneath their clothes, and they'd be walking around at the mall. You'd see them out in public and you just never know. So it is a very treatable disease. But I think the important thing too is even if it requires major surgery, and a lot of times it does, I still expect somebody to have a great quality of life and enjoy time with their loved ones and friends.
Yeah. I'm sorry if this is kind of like a weird, in the weeds, nerdy type of question, but I get fascinated by medical stuff, to be honest. And, if you do have one of those bags, does your body somehow get cues that, for example, your fake bladder is full? Like, any other human being will get cues when their bladder is full and they're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom now.
Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing about the human body. We're always learning, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so if somebody does elect to have a new bladder made in their pelvis, which is where your bladder is with small bowel, they can get the sensation that they're starting to have increased pressure. And that's, at the end of the day, water weight, right? And then also if somebody has a diverting ostomy appliance, that bag sticks to their skin and they can kind of start sensing those changes that are happening and say, oh, like it's time to go empty the bag in the restroom. So yeah, they definitely can. And again, it's a learning process. I think one of my favorite analogies is, I tell folks that need this, it's kind of like learning how to ride a bike. You're going to fall down, you'll get cut up, bruised, scraped, but with enough time, with enough practice, it'll just turn into second nature, and that's, a skill you'll always have.
Yeah. I mean, really interesting, and also great to hear that the outlook is good, on that front of, basically learning to live with it and continue on with relatively normal life afterwards. We heard that the doctors in a press conference where Mr. Sanders announced this, surgery that he had to undergo, they used the word essentially like cured, it's beaten, is what they said. Is this a situation where, would he need any sort of follow-up to make sure that there isn't cancer elsewhere, or do doctors usually feel pretty confident once the bladder is gone that this is a one-and-done situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say it sort of all depends on the type of bladder cancer that Coach Sanders had, right? There are types of bladder cancer where we have to talk about chemotherapy treatments afterwards. There are types of bladder cancers where it's just routine surveillance. And of course, the aggressiveness of the cancer will sort of dictate that schedule. But, bladder cancer patients, we're typically following them for at least 5, usually 10, if not more years after surgery to ensure there's no recurrence.
Yeah. Anything that you want to leave us with before we wrap things up here, Dr. Johnson, whether, it's a message to folks at home who are hearing this story and going, wow, I didn't know this was a thing, or maybe anything general about the Sanders case?
Yeah, no, thank you. I'd say the first thing is, and I hate to sound like a broken record, please don't start smoking. If you are smoking, please stop or attempt to. And the most important thing, too, is bladder cancer can be a very serious diagnosis, but you're not alone. We've got a great team here. We've got a great community of folks that are bladder cancer survivors who go above and beyond and help new patients navigate through this process. And this is really a time where I think community makes a big difference, whether it's me, the surgeon, the medical oncologist, or the other staff members in the clinic.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, there's some positive that can come out of this, whether it's just awareness, maybe somebody heard some of the symptoms you were describing and they go, maybe I need to get checked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Kyle Johnson with Novant Health, thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate your insights.
Yeah, absolutely.
And time right now is 10:17 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Useful information, good conversation with Dr. Johnson and our Vanessa Rufus. We want to bring in live right now meteorologist Chris Mulcahy back into the Live Impact studio this morning because we are weather impact alert. Kind of sounding like a broken record. If people still play records.
They do. They come
do.
back.
And it's coming back,
They're
right?
back.
So, but, kind of putting it on a repeat, it is worth the message, though, that these are dangerously hot temperatures. But, Chris, moving in the right direction.
Yeah, we're heading in the right direction. Good day to stay inside and watch your VHS tapes.
There you go.
And DVDs. Even though I still...
CDs.
No, I still have CDs in my car.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, well, I have a 2009 that they still has a CD player, and I also have a Blu-ray player that I get a new Blu-ray every year. So when the internet goes out, I can still watch my favorite movies.
Oh, there you go.
So for all of those saying you have a Blu-ray player, I was like, that's right. Come over my house.
Party at Chris's. All right, what are we going to watch?
The most recent one, I got Twisters on Blu-ray. Okay, anyways. 94 current feels like. So we're actually 86, feeling like 94. That means that we're going to feeling like 100 before you know it. And that's going to be the case and scenario for the afternoon. Feeling mainly from about 100 to 104. I think some could max out to about 107. So keep that in mind. And our dew points are quickly going to be on the rise. So there's really not too much different than what we've been dealing with. The only difference here is that we started off cooler by about 3 to 4 degrees, and we're about cooler compared to yesterday by about 3 to 4 degrees. And get this, our high temperature is going to be cooler by about 3 to 4 degrees. So you see that general trend. Now, one thing that's going to happen is our highs are going to come down and our moisture content comes up. It officially is spiking to potentially the muggiest or one of the muggiest days of the year on Friday, and that's going to be some ample storm fuel. But in the meantime, we're just watching this heat dome break down. But then notice the direction of these arrows leading into Thursday. That really cranks up extra moisture, and then eventually this breaks down. Is going to give way to a nice little break. So as far as our rainfall chances go, they are going to become more scattered today, tomorrow, and the next few days. But Friday looks to be the best chance, and even a potential severe thunderstorm chance. So we'll see where that is going to develop. Usually it's the big bad cold fronts that strip our high temperatures down 10 degrees that really affect us. So here's what it looks like over the next 3 days. Our futurecast showing a chance for an isolated thunderstorm really between about 2 and 4. And then they start becoming a little bit more scattered heading into the evening. You know how this works. Some of us hear big rumbles of thunder, torrential downpour, while others have no idea. It's like, what are you talking about? It didn't rain. It wasn't even close. So that's kind of the case and scenario. It could be also be one scenario that we are looking through one of our mighty fine Mr. Sparky Carolina Camera Network cameras that it looks like it is raining in Huntersville, but then there's nothing happening in Concord. So it's going to be very hit or miss throughout the day. And then by about 2 a.m., I think most of our storms are done. Then tomorrow, we have pop-up storms between about 2 and 4. Scattered thunderstorms heading into the evening, and then it winds down between about midnight and 2 a.m. Now I'm a broken record because guess what? Tomorrow, we have pop-up storms by about noon to 2, so it's a little bit different, but they become more scattered mid to late afternoon, and then we'll have more scattered rain as we work our way through your Thursday afternoon. And then on Friday, still a lot of unknowns about the exact timing of the cold front that could provide a line of thunderstorms. Whenever you have a front driving into a hot and humid environment, that is always going to give you a better chance for widespread severe thunderstorms or thunderstorms in general. So we'll see once that gets a little bit closer. We'll have day 3 from the Storm Prediction Center, which is a little more accurate than day 4, coming out on Friday. For tomorrow by the time that I'm back here. And then regardless, once that front passes, it does look like we have some lingering clouds. So it will overall be a cloudier day on Saturday, but still 82. And then we'll see some sunshine starting to fight back on Sunday. But both days, Sunday, Monday, sun, clouds, highs in the lower to the mid 80s, not as humid. It's going to be a nice little break before we're back to 90 degrees by day 6 of August.
Even 90 degrees is going to be okay.
Oh, yeah. No, at this point, 90 is great. 82, even cloudy, even if it's a miserable looking day, love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's like a Florida winter.
It is like a Florida winter. Some people call this
82.
false fall. That
false
sometimes
fall.
happens. So yeah, this is absolutely a false fall because 82, 81 actually is more what you would have September 17th to the 21st. So yeah, it is like literally the last days of summer almost.
I'm surprised Duke Energy has not asked us to conserve on. I mean, or have they? Have they?
They
gotten-
did.
They did. Okay.
It just wasn't. They made a lot of adjustments from the last time that they had kind of like the blackouts. I think if this went on a little bit longer, they would, or if it looked like we were going to have another one. But I think they could handle it. So yeah, it wasn't as vocalized, is what I should say. But they did put out a couple of
They did put it-
PSAs. Just say, hey, by the way, if you can, just listen. But luckily we're on the downturn, as we mentioned.
All right. We like to hear it. Chris Mulcahy, thank you for coming in the 10 o'clock here.
Always.
As we are weather impact alert for you on this Tuesday morning. Time right now, 10:23, and we thank you for watching. So speaking of the power, AC is one of those tools that we need, watching your cooling centers, watching your home, and trying to conserve on energy. So we do have interviews now to talk about such a situation, keeping your air conditioning running, and some tips.
Yes, Miles, a couple days ago, Miles did kind of like a walk along with
good.
Boris Jenkins as they were kind of going out doing repairs and stuff. So that's what this is going to be.
All right, very good.
How long have you been doing this for, man?
So I've been doing it for now about 2 years. Started with Morris Jenkins, probably going to end with Morris Jenkins.
What do you like most about the job, though, man?
Honestly, I like that they don't really hound me too hard.
Yeah.
They try to make it easy for me, so I try to do the same for the customers.
Okay.
So luckily the uniform's been staying clean.
I'm about to say, you're all warmed up now, huh?
I know. So essentially, the whole reason we're out here, just preventative maintenance, make sure everything's good to go, make sure everything's working properly, just so that way we can make sure with a level of confidence that this thing is going to do exactly what it needs to.
Right. And I mean, okay. Talk to me about it, man. I know we're kind of doing an interview right now, though, too, but Colin, I mean, how important is it making sure this stuff is running right now, given the heat that we're dealing with, man?
Especially given the heat that these things are dealing with, they've got to run a little bit longer, they've got to run a little bit harder. So just getting an overall check on the system, make sure everything's running properly and as well as possible, extremely important. Sometimes, depending on where these things are located, they basically look like they're wearing a Christmas sweater and need to be cleaned off so that we can just stay as cool as possible, work as long as possible, and just make sure everything's tip-top shape.
Wow. What's the most common thing that kind of helps break down an AC unit?
Basically, most common thing to break down these things is unfortunately heat. So with these things just running harder and harder during the summertime, a lot of these electrical components, they get strained as all get out. So coming out, checking on these things, making sure everything's in range for manufacturer specifications, just helps these things maintain and last as long as possible.
You've been out here, you said it's your third house today?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Is there anything customers can do as far as making sure these things last a little bit longer? When they are running longer, obviously, that's what they need to do.
Easiest thing, just call a local technician, have them check these things out, just make sure everything's good to go, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, but it's like as far as the thermostat set temperature, is there anything that like helps it a little bit more though too, or like?
So these things, unfortunately, they're not magic. So they can only handle about 20-degree temp drop. So if it's 95 out and you got your thermostat set to 70, they'll usually handle about 75. So if you crank it up a little bit, it'll make it to where it's not running as hard and as long.
What are those, if you don't mind me asking?
So what these are refrigerant probes, basically testing how the refrigerant charge looks, tells me if there's anything leaking, anything like blocked up in the refrigerant, or anything off.
Okay. Some of the hidden tools and gyms you guys carry, huh? That's
Exactly. We got to keep an arsenal on us at all times. So on days like today, I respond to anywhere between about 4 to 6. It just depends on who need us and how difficult the days are.
Right. So that's obviously more than what you guys get, like, say it's raining.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So days like this, we try to handle as many people as possible so that we can just everybody taken care of. Okay? We're here to help. We actually open these things up, clean them entirely from the coils, any debris inside of them. So if this thing's chock full of leaves, we'll come out, take it all out. We won't dump it in your yard, okay? We'll put it somewhere where it needs to be, all right?
How much time does it usually take you, though, to kind of fix these or do a maintenance check on those?
So maintenances, they generally take about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It just depends on what kind of system you have overall and just like the layout of the house.
I got you.
Things can get absolutely stacked up. So if this gets too much debris in it and everything, it'll affect airflow. These things won't run as efficiently, won't cool as efficiently, and
stresses it even more, right?
Oh yeah, and gets uncomfortable on top of that. So we always make sure to empty these things out. Try not to leave a mess behind when we come out. It's like the old Boy Scout motto, try to leave stuff a little better than you found it, right?
It's hot outside. As far as you guys and your AC unit, I know there's no right or wrong answer, but how did you guys you guys have already seemed like you got a situation already figured out for addressing the heat?
A couple years ago, it just started going on the fritz in July. So we had a leak and it was freezing over. So one of our downstairs unit went up. Upstairs unit was still cooling, but we figured we'd get it all replaced because it just seemed to get hotter and hotter.
Seriously though too. And I mean, I know it's a newer system, but I mean, have you guys been a little bit more cautious on how you guys plan on trying to make sure that it doesn't have any issues, goes out, anything like that?
Yeah, we try to get it maintenanced every year and make sure it's all up and running, and then keeping it cool at night so it's not working as hard during the day.
Yeah, and just as a household Charlotte teen, I should say, talk to me about how important it is to make sure that this AC is running when we're dealing with the heat that we're getting ready to kind of face today. And
Yeah. Well, the wife is also pregnant, so she wants it nice and cool in there. So yeah, I got to make sure it stays cool so she stays comfortable.
Yeah, and was there a right answer, but no right or wrong answer, but what do you have the thermostat set at, or what's an idea?
Yeah, we keep it right at 70. Keep it nice and cool in there for her, so yeah.
Yeah, but obviously very important to keep that in, especially with her, given the circumstances and the heat that we're kind of facing.
Right, yeah. I also changed out some windows too, which is helping to keep the AC. The old wooden windows don't insulate nearly as well as the newer windows.
All right, our Miles Harris doing the work, following the people that work on all of those appliances around on a very, very hot Monday. So hopefully you got some good information from that, because we need it here this week before those cooler temperatures move on in. Time right now, just about 10:30, and you are watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Hopefully you have told your friends, tell a person to download the WCNC app to their favorite streaming device, and that way you could watch all for free. Right now here at 10:30, we want to go over to New York City. United Nations holding a meeting on the conflict in the Middle East. Let's listen in here live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
May the lessons of such a long suffering in the Middle East finally inspire a renewed collective sense of humanity and belief in peace, so that, as written in the Pirkei Avot, the world can stand on three things: justice, truth, and peace. Palestinian wisdom tells us that humanity is closer than kinship. Israeli wisdom reminds us justice, truth, and peace are the pillars of the world. Only a Palestinian state living side by side with Israel in peace, security, and prosperity can bring justice, truth, and peace to humanity. The war must end. Death, captivity, illness, and suffering must stop.
Je remercie le ministre des Affaires étrangères du
I
Portugal.
thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs of
Et je donne
Portugal.
maintenant la parole à
And
son
now give the
Excellence
floor
Madame
to
Rosa
Her
Yolanda
Excellency
Villavicencio, ministre des Affaires étrangères.
Acting Minister for Foreign Affairs of Colombia.
Buenos días,
Good
señores
morning,
copresidentes, señores
distinguished
delegados,
co-chairs, distinguished
excelencias
delegates,
todos.
excellencies.
Mientras estamos aquí reunidos,
While we are
cientos de
meeting here,
personas mueren en
hundreds
Gaza.
of people are
El
dying in
mundo
Gaza.
observa con
The
horror
world is
el
watching with
desarrollo de
horror
una campaña de
as a
limpieza
campaign of
étnica
ethnic
en
cleansing
contra
is
de
rolled
niños,
out against
mujeres,
children,
ancianos,
women, older
personas
persons,
enfermas y heridas,
the sick and
que
wounded,
viola las normas
a campaign
más
that is
fundamentales
violating
del
the
derecho
most basic
internacional.
norms of international law.
Julio ha sido el mes más
July
mortífero
was the
para la
most deadly
población de
month
Gaza
for the
en los
population of
últimos
Gaza
18
in the
meses.
past 18
Según
months.
informaciones
According
confiables,
to reliable
en
information,
promedio más de 100
on average,
palestinos
more than
fueron
100
asesinados por
Palestinians were
Israel cada
killed
día
by
de este
Israel
mes.
each day
Hay
this month.
10,000 nuevos heridos.
10,000 more
Las cifras
people have been
demuestran que,
injured.
pese a
The
la
figures
presión
show that
internacional,
despite international
Israel ha
pressure,
recrudecido
Israel
su
has
violencia.
increased its
Estamos
violence.
viendo indicadores
We are seeing
similares a los
indicators
de
similar
febrero
to
de
those from February
2024.
2024.
Basta ya.
Enough is
La
enough.
franja de Gaza
The
está
Gaza Strip
incomunicada.
is cut off
No
from
hay alimentos ni
communications.
agua
There is no
potable.
food nor
No hay
drinking
atención
water,
médica.
no medical
Los
care.
niños no van a la
Children are
escuela.
not going to
La
school.
vacunación ha sido
Vaccination
bloqueada
has been
y el
paralyzed,
ingreso de ayuda
and the entry of
humanitaria
humanitarian assistance has been
El
blocked.
hambre se sumó al arsenal
Hunger
de
has
guerra
been added
israelí,
to
y
Israel's
ahora
arsenal of
la
war, and
población de
now
Gaza
the
también
population
está
of
muriendo
Gaza
de
is also
inanición.
dying of
Basta
starvation.
ya. Y
Enough
en
is enough.
Cisjordania,
And
la
in the West
violencia de
Bank,
los colonos,
settler
avalada y
violence,
fomentada
endorsed
por la
and
potencia
encouraged by
ocupante,
the occupying power,
impone un
is
régimen de
imposing a
terror que
regime of
desafía
terror
de
that
forma abierta
openly
el derecho
defies international law.
Basta ya.
Enough is enough.
Demandamos un cese
We
al
call
fuego
for
inmediato,
an immediate,
permanente
permanent,
e
and
incondicional
unconditional
y el fin de la
ceasefire
ocupación
and the
ilegal.
end of the illegal
No podemos
occupation.
continuar
We cannot
indiferentes
remain
viendo cómo se
indifferent
vuelve
in the
normal
face
la
of the
violación
normalization
sistemática
of the
de las
systematic
normas más
violation of the most basic norms of human coexistence. Enough is enough. With the disdain with which it has been addressing its international obligations, Israel is intending to destroy several decades of human progress, as reflected in the rules-based system that gave rise to the United Nations. The world cannot go back to tolerating the use of hunger as a method of war or apartheid as a system of segregation and exploitation. Enough is enough. Colombia reaffirms its historic support for a peaceful, just, definitive, and comprehensive political solution to the question of Palestine, one that is based on the solution of two states living side by side in peace and security within secure and internationally recognized pre-1967 borders, and recognizing the inalienable right to return of Palestinian refugees. But when we speak of the two-state solution, we have to be clear. This cannot be a cosmetic fix that legitimizes the occupation. The Palestinian state must be a viable sovereign political entity, and it must have the same conditions as any of the countries participating in this conference. It must possess its own government, the ability to defend itself and to protect its population, total jurisdiction over its territory and its airspace, control of its borders, and the chance to administer its natural resources. We cannot tolerate conditions being attached to the full exercise of the right to self-determination of the Palestinians. The Palestinian state has declared itself to be peace-loving, and therefore it should be admitted as a full member of this organization without further delay. In the meantime, it is the obligation of all states to take measures to counter this humanitarian catastrophe. Now is not the time for more speeches. Enough is enough. Colombia has shown that it believes in facts and not in words. We broke off diplomatic relations with the genocidal government in Tel Aviv, and we decided to stop selling it our coal. We are participating as an interested third party in the genocide case brought by South Africa at the International Court of Justice, and we have contributed to the proceedings on Israeli leaders currently underway at the International Criminal Court. Together with South Africa, we created the Hague Group, which is a platform for action and the pursuit of justice. We urge all countries to join these initiatives and to adopt similar measures. We hope that this conference will serve to galvanize the necessary international support that will allow for a definitive political solution to the question of Palestine, one that is based on the right of both states to self-determination and to live in peace. Thank you.
Je remercie les ministres des Affaires étrangères par
I
intérim de
thank
la
the
Colombie.
acting Minister for Foreign Affairs of Colombia.
Et je donne maintenant la parole
I give
à
the
son
floor
Excellence Monsieur
to
Luca
His
Beccari,
Excellency Luca Beccari,
ministre des Affaires
Minister
étrangères,
for
des
Foreign
Affaires
Affairs,
politiques, de la
Political
coopération
Affairs,
économique internationale et de
International
la
Economic
transition
Cooperation
numérique
and
de
Digital
Saint-Martin.
Transition of San Marino.
De Saint-Martin.
Co-Chair, Excellencies, distinguished colleague, on behalf of the government of the Republic of San Marino, I would like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the French Republic for co-chairing this high-level conference at a time when the need for moral clarity and political courage has never been greater. San Marino condemned unequivocally the attack of the 7th October, which caused tragic loss of innocent life. At the same time, we cannot remain silent in the face of a disproportionate military response that has followed, marked by widespread destruction, civilian suffering, and severe humanitarian consequences, including the lack of access of food, clean water, and essential supply, raising the alarming risk of famine. This constitutes a grave violation of international law and international humanitarian law. It is incumbent on both parties to strictly respect these fundamental norms, protect civilians, and preserve the possibility of a just and lasting peace. We come together not only as representatives of our government, but as human beings. The Secretary General of the United Nations recently spoke of a collective moral failure in the face of the catastrophe unfolding in Gaza. This word must resonate with us. More than 50,000 lives lost, including thousands of children. A society torn apart. A people deprived of dignity, security, and hope. The tragic death of UN and UNRWA staff members, humanitarian workers, and journalists must not be tolerated. This is not only a political crisis. It is a test of our shared humanity. San Marino stands unequivocally for an immediate and lasting ceasefire, for unconditional release of hostages, for the protection of civilians, and for the full humanitarian access in accordance with international humanitarian law. At the same time, we are deeply concerned by the continued expansion of illegal settlement violence against civilians and other unilateral action in the West Bank, which threaten the viability of a future Palestinian state and undermine the prospect for peace. The unity and territorial continuity between the West Bank and Gaza under the Palestinian Authority are essential and any meaningful two-state solution. However, we must look beyond the immediate emergency. It is time to reignite the political horizon. San Marino reaffirmed its unwavering support for a two-state solution as a sovereign, independent, and viable state of Palestine, living in peace and mutual recognition alongside the State of Israel, both within secure internationally recognized border and with Jerusalem as a shared capital. We believe that peace is not only possible, but necessary and achievable if the international community acts with unity and resolve. In this spirit, we support a multilateral framework led by the United Nations, building on the Madrid Terms of Reference, the Arab Peace Initiative, and the Peace Day effort, underpinned by strong international guarantees and credible security arrangements for all. Co-Chair, on 15 May 2025, the Parliament of San Marino adopted unanimously an historical recommendation committing the government of the Republic to recognize the State of Palestine by the end of this year. This is not a symbolic act. It is an outcome of deep reflection and a principled stance grounded in the values that define our Republic: the rejection of war, the right of people to self-determination, and the primacy of international law. The recognition process has already begun. The Ambassador of Palestine has formally presented her letter of credence to the Captain Regent, our head of state. The next step will be the appointment of a San Marino ambassador accredited to Palestine, establishing full diplomatic relations. We will also continue to support Palestine's full membership in the United Nations, as well as to affirm the need of international organization presence to deliver full and safe humanitarian assistance, especially for children, women, and the most vulnerable. San Marino urges all nations to...
You've been watching live right now. UN leaders talking there in New York City, holding a press conference, or a conference, I should say, on dealing with the conflict in the Middle East. As we have been checking in since training camp has begun for the Carolina Panthers last week around this time, every morning we're checking in with our sports director this morning, Nick Carboni, who is at B of A. Week starting with everyone with their pads on. Nick, are you there? How's it going?
I'm good, Jane. How are you? Yes, pads came on yesterday, pads off today. You get 16 padded practices in training camp. They're more intense, as we saw yesterday, with a bit of a scuffle that we can discuss. And, you know, you don't want to go all pads every day to start training camp. So I'm sure they will come back on maybe later this week, and probably not for FanFest on Saturday.
All right. Yeah, so that's good to know and get a little break here and there. So how'd it go?
Well, yesterday's camp, as I said, more intense with the pads on. We had our first camp scuffle, and I've been to Panthers training camps where we don't see a single one of those, especially when it's not involving another team. So, end of team drills yesterday. Second-year linebacker Trevin Wallace popped running back Chuba Hubbard pretty hard over the middle. It was a clean hit. It was actually, within the rules of training camp, which you can't tackle to the ground, but you can what they call thud, basically, hit up top. Chuba ended up on the ground anyway, and as soon as I saw it was number 30, I knew there was going to be something coming after it. So he bounced right back up, and they got into it a little bit. Didn't see any swings. Team came together for a little bit and separated. And then what the team doesn't want, what the coaching staff doesn't want, and certainly a lot of the leaders, A, they don't want anybody to get hurt, and B, they don't want it to distract from practice. So they actually regrouped very quickly after that, ran a few more of the team drills, and then wrapped up practice on time. Sometimes those things can get bad enough where they just end practice completely, and that's what a coach doesn't like to see. And after the little scuffle, Coach Dave Canales said, listen, it's just football. We're being physical. He's preaching that this needs to be a physical team this year, especially defensively. So I think he probably kind of liked that a little bit. And even Chuba Hubbard, who was on the receiving end of it, although he did have kind of a knot on his head, but he was joking about it because he didn't want to be on camera with it. But he said Trevin was just playing hard. It's all love. It's just football. So I think, honestly, there's a net positive from it as long as nobody gets hurt and as long as they still get their work done. It's just a team and a defense that, doesn't want to be pushed around anymore.
All right, they're already putting up their dukes a little bit, Nick. And who's competitive? I'm sure everybody's competitive, but what areas are looking real hot now?
Yeah, I think we're looking for defensive improvement, and I think that's going to be slow to come along because certain guys are coming back off of some injuries. Derek Brown, I saw him today rehabbing his injury a little more. He tore his meniscus at the beginning of last season. He missed the rest of the year, was cleared for activities for training camp, but they're taking it kind of slow with him and not wanting to rush him back just yet. But I know that he aims to be on the field week 1 at Jacksonville. They're incoming defensive tackle Bobby Brown is somebody that everybody's excited about in terms of helping stop the run. He just was activated yesterday. So some of those pieces are just starting to come back piece by piece. I would say the most competitive group right now in terms of guys competing for jobs is the wide receiver room with the addition of Hunter Renfrow, with the draft choices of Tetairoa McMillan in the first round and Jimmy Horn Jr. in the 6th round. Plus, you've still got Adam Thielen. You've still got Jalen Coker, who made a splash as an undrafted free agent last season. And Xavier Legette, who everybody hopes can make that next step in year 2 and hold on to the football. That's become a group that everybody's got their eyes on every day. And the coaches and front office are going to be bearing down on some tough decisions when cuts come in a couple of weeks.
Sort of, you have a question?
Yeah, Carboni, we talked a lot about the receiver room yesterday. As you mentioned, there are those guys, but then there are more guys. But out of those guys that you just mentioned, right, are we overhyping this receiver room at all?
Depends who we is. I think Ocho Cinco tweeted that it was the best receiving group in the NFL. That may be a bit of hyperbole and overhype, and I think he was going for that a little bit. He and Adam Thielen are good buddies now after he kind of had some negative things to say about the Panthers receivers room last year. I don't think, whether it's overhyped or not, we'll see. Certainly in that sense, yes, it is not yet the best receiver room in the NFL. But in terms of how much we're talking about it and how much we're saying positive things about the room, I think relative to the last couple of seasons here, especially with Bryce Young as quarterback, it is clearly a better room. It is deeper. It is more talented than we have seen here in a while. And that's exciting for people who want to see Bryce take his next step. Now, I think it could become a very good receiver room in the NFL if a few things happen. 1, that Tetairoa McMillan proves worthy of the 8th overall selection. 2, if Xavier Legette takes that next step and not only gets open, but holds onto the ball in key situations. And maybe even add in 3, if Hunter Renfrow truly is his Pro Bowl self, which Dave Canales even admitted yesterday, he thinks he looks like that guy again, then yes, this could be a very strong receiver room. They don't give out awards for most improved receiver room in the NFL, but if all of those things hit, this could certainly take that. And I think all of those things hitting is absolutely within the realm of possibility. Then you've added more pass catching out of the backfield in Rico Dowdle and ETN, the draft pick. Then you factor in that they're excited about Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, and the one they drafted this year, Mitchell Evans, to kind of grow into more of a pass catching tight end role just to give Bryce Young more options. So overhyped as the best receiver room in the NFL, of course, but something to be excited about, absolutely.
We is me and Ocho Cinco. I know I like that Ocho Cinco guy.
Yeah,
It sounded like he played in the NFL for quite some time. Carboni, I do have another question. You talked about the running backs. Do you get a sense that there is like Dave Canales is really like putting an emphasis on the running game? Because I feel like last year, and granted the Panthers were down in a lot of those games, they abandoned the run, but you have a guy like Chuba, you have a guy like ETN that you drafted, also Rico Dowdle from the Cowboys. Like, is there an emphasis, do you feel like, on the running game this year?
I've gotten the sense that Dave Canales has wanted to emphasize the run since his first press conference when he mentioned it, I don't know how many times. Now, you're exactly right. Even in situations last year where it was clear that this would be a good time to run the football, I don't think they did as much as they could have. You do have to factor in the context of they were behind a lot. Maybe the run game wasn't working, so they went to something else. But I think there were absolutely situations where they should have leaned on it more. And I think by design of this roster, it's almost, going to force him to, because of the addition of Dowdle and ETN. Between Dowdle and Chuba, you've got 2,000 yards of rushing plus from last season coming into the 2025 season. And then you look at the construct of the offensive line, all 5 guys back, and all 5 guys suit the run a little better than they suit pass protection. So that just tells me absolutely they're going to lean on it. And if they want Bryce to take the next step, and if they want these new weapons on the outside to be open, the run is going to have to set that up. So I think you will see a more concerted effort. Now the defense has to stop the other team from running the ball and preserve leads for the Panthers, or keep them in positions where they're not way behind and have to throw the ball to catch up.
How you liking this heat, Carboni?
I was about to say, we need to do a wellness check. Carboni was fighting for his life during that 4 o'clock live hit.
Oh, no.
Well, there's a few reasons that I'm not on camera. One is because we can't have video up right now at practice. 2 is that I don't want you all to see what I look like right now. I lugged in about 80 pounds of gear. This is like day 5 of camp for me. They've all been, almost all of them have been absolutely brutal, I think, except for the first one. But it sounds like relief is on the way. So I might look a little better on camera by Friday, hopefully. But yeah, it's typical training camp. What I will say, I will never think anything is hotter and more humid than Spartanburg, South Carolina at this time of year. There is somewhat of a breeze blowing across Cedar Street right now, so we'll take that.
All right, well, not stay cool, not even stay dry.
Hydrated.
Stay hydrated.
Wear
There
a
you
hat
go,
out there,
Carlene.
please.
Got a
Sunscreen.
new bottle. Got it all. I got it all.
Okay,
We're
good.
checking all the boxes.
All right, well, we'll hang with you again this time tomorrow and check in with you later on this afternoon on WCNC Charlotte.
Talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Carboni.
Thanks, Nick.
Whew.
Okay,
Man.
so, well, gang,
Nick was...
and it's so cold in this studio.
I know, right?
I know, I didn't want to let him know about that part.
Carboni was, Jane mentioned it during the 4 o'clock show. I think we were about to pull up his live shot, or it might have been, I forgot what part of his live shot that we saw, and he was just like...
He was
What?
Yeah.
He looked like he was...
He's putting hours out there at this
He
point.
is.
Like,
Sweating in the shade.
He's doing a lot of great work.
Of course
It's a lot.
he is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And shout out to Ocho Cinco. I just wanted to say that.
Again.
All right.
I mean...
All right, well, you got him covered. You got him covered. It's a
He's
busy day.
He's a Miami guy.
I know. And isn't he a Dancing with the Stars guy? No,
I
that
think-
was the original.
Maybe. I know Emmitt Smith was. I know we're going off on a tangent right now, but
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. But yeah, he's a Miami guy. I'm always trying to make a connection for Jane so
Appreciate
she can
it.
be a
So
real
you can
fan.
throw up the U
Yeah.
There you
again.
go.
I think I've done this every day this week.
Throwing up the U for
Since
Dan
last
Morgan.
week. Yeah, did it. You have a number of topics that are covered. I just saw the editorial note with all the state leaders trying to override many of the governor's vetoes from earlier this year. What else?
We're the latest from the General Assembly in Raleigh. A lot happening there. Also, we're going to get to check on the forecast. It's still hot outside, y'all. It is really, really hot outside. And I believe, I hate when I do this, when I don't have my notes. I need to start bringing my notes.
I can tell you.
President Trump is expected to come back today from Scotland, his trip in Scotland. So he will be arriving. As soon as he does, we'll most likely, I say most likely because we don't know as far as timing.
Or, you know.
We'll most likely have
coverage
of that. Also, the State Department is meeting today at 2 o'clock. We usually bring you guys that. There's a lot of updates coming out of the State Department. So that's what we're following. Oh, and speaking of Miles Harris, he's doing that.
Is he at it again today?
He's at it again today.
We just replayed.
We just gotta keep him outside.
His bit following the AC guys yesterday.
Oh, man. And Jesse Pierre is following the deadly crash on
485 over the weekend.
Officials are going to be back on the scene today. So Jesse talked to family members yesterday, and then today she it's so much to peel back. Her live shot yesterday, she gave a lot of information, a lot of backstory. I think she even admitted in her live shot, she's like, I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now.
Wow.
With so many moving parts. So again, that's such a heartbreaking story that we're continuing to follow. I think that's it. I don't know if I'm doing this off memory.
I know. No, that's pretty good. I see Megan is covering a Verify. Can you drink too much water?
How much is too much water?
How much is too much? It has something to do with your body weight or something with your ounces.
Right, that makes sense.
I drink about a gallon a day. Is that too much? I think that's
the goal.
I think that's actually really good.
So if I do 3 gallons a day, that's too much.
That might be too much. That sounds like it's too much.
Okay, so
it's actually unhealthy.
But I don't know.
Because you have to keep some enzymes or something inside your body. You don't want to wash it all. You don't want to. I don't know.
So random fact about water.
Okay.
I don't know if this is going to make you smarter at home, guys, but Michael B. Jordan, when he was training for the first Creed, he was drinking 2 gallons.
Oh.
Carlene loves his story. He was drinking 2 gallons of water a day.
That's a lot.
Training. That's a lot. It's hard for me to get through a gallon.
For boxing.
I
he's
think
trying to get in incredible shape. Like, I guess, I understand that.
2 workouts a day.
Yeah, for sure. 2 a days.
2 gallons of water.
And I see Kaylin is handling the NODA break-in.
Yeah.
The bakery.
A bakery that I believe, if I'm reading the post correctly, and I'm forgetting the name, but they went to cashless payments because they got broken into before, if I'm remembering this correctly. So just a tough situation. A small business. Anytime you if you're a small business, you get broken into. I mean,
it's a huge hit.
It's a huge hit. I mean, that's how they make their livelihood. That's how they make
so they're
their money.
closed until further notice.
I believe so. Yeah. So Kaylin's going to be following that story for us there in NODA. So.
Great.
We have surveillance video on our website.
Yep.
On YouTube. So go check that out. I mean,
terrible.
Terrible what happened, but just to get a better idea of what happened, you can check that out, I should say.
Okay.
So.
All right. Sturdivant, thank you.
She's kicking me off now.
I'm not kicking you off. What else?
She said, "Get your own show, Nick. This is not your show."
You will have your own show at 12:30.
Oh, I should mention, I've been keeping an eye because there has been like a kind of a set-up camera in New York City, kind of like outside of where Park Avenue, where everything happened. We're waiting to see if maybe there'll be a press conference today. I would imagine there probably will be. That's generally how these things kind of go. So if we have it, we'll bring it to you.
All right.
Yeah, we heard from the mayor. New York City Mayor Eric Adams yesterday evening.
The police commissioner. We heard from the FBI. Yeah.
We replayed that presser yesterday as well. Terrible incident. 4 people killed, and then the shooter. So 5
any
people.
Updates. Yeah.
All right, guys. You know what? It looks like that's our time.
That
is it. That's what happens.
Another 2 hours.
We start talking. We start talking to Carboni about sports, and then
here we are.
And then it's done. So again, Sturdivant is up at 12:30. In the meantime, Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great morning.